Hello, I'm Dave and this is Logan, out once again for a walk in the countryside. Thanks for joining us. Now today we're at the pretty village of Hooke in Dorset. It's located about 7 miles northeast of Bridport and 4 miles east of Beaminster. We're going to be walking a roughly 4.5 mile circular route. We'll start off with a look at a few things in Hooke before heading north along part of the Wessex Ridgeway to the tiny hamlet of Toller Whelme, where we should see the source of the River Hooke. We'll then continue north to the western edge of a medieval deer park before returning south through Westcombe Coppice and Burnt Bottom back to Hooke. And I expect there'll be lots of interesting things to see along the way. While I'm filming in the middle of September, the sun is out, there's blue sky, hardly a cloud up there. Should be perfect conditions for walking. Do come along with us. Well, I've parked my car right next to the church in the centre of the village. Let's have a little wander. When I mention the church, let's have a look at that. It's just in front of me here. And it's the church of St Giles. Now the nave and chancel originate from the 15th century. The south chapel was added in the 16th century, and then the chancel was rebuilt in the early 19th century. In 1874 the south tower was added together with a vestry. I think it's just got the one bell. Indeed, I was reading that it may well be the second oldest bell in Dorset. Well, we'll have a quick peep inside. And just by the door here there's this rather magnificent hexagonal font, and then just heading down through the nave. I think that sculpture on the side there is St Giles, and is that a Whippet he's got? Nah, I don't think so. And heading towards the chancel, beautiful stained glass window above the altar, looking quite glorious in the sunshine this morning. And then we've got the stone pulpit on the left, and then just to the side is the chapel with a beautiful carved arch between the nave and the chapel. That's terrific. Now I know quite a few viewers love to see the kneelers when I'm in churches, so here we go. And there's quite a good variety of them, a lot of wildlife. Now the earliest reference to the village of Hooke was when it was mentioned in the Domesday Book, and at that time it was recorded as being under the ownership of a Saxon earl called Elthric, I think that's how you pronounce it, prior to ownership being transferred to Count Robert of Mortain, who was William the Conqueror's brother. Interesting that there was once a village called Stapleford, most of which might have been located in fields to the north of Hooke. That actually became depopulated and may have been incorporated into Hooke village sometime in the 14th century. Now this building here, I believe, used to be the Paulet Arms. It shows on an 1888 map as a pub. The Paulet family were lords of the manor here in the 17th century. I think the pub closed in 1961, not sure. And this was the old school. That shows on an 1888 map as well. I'm not sure when it closed, but lovely to see that it's still got the bell here. What a lovely day to be out for a ride. What a gorgeous coloured horse. That's the same colour liver chestnut as my old horse Beau. Oh, it really is quite a glorious morning weather-wise. Okay, we're now going to head towards the sort of northern end of the village. Oh, isn't that quite idyllic? It looks like a little lake there, but if you look on an 1888 map, there were actually watercress beds here once. Of course, there are springs of a chalk stream nearby, because that gives that constant temperature, ideal for watercress. And then just in front of it, this little stream here, I guess this is part of the River Hooke, I'm not sure. We'll see the source of the river later on in the walk. But the river itself is about 6 miles long. It joins up with the River Froome at Maiden Newton. The word hook is a derivation of hock, which is Old English for sharp bend in a stream. I think it used to be called the River Toller, but that changed its name in the 15th century. Well, this is a very interesting building here, Hooke Court. And there may have been a Saxon manor house here, and certainly there was one here in the Middle Ages. And it all passed to the Paulet family in 1609, when major additions were then made to it. It became a royalist stronghold and was severely damaged by fire in the Civil War. Indeed, I think it was taken over by the parliamentarians, but it eventually returned to the Paulet family after the restoration. And I think it was a boarding school between 1946 and 1992, but it's been a special residential study centre since about 1994. And I was reading that the Time Teen television series came here in 2006 and made an episode that was broadcast in 2007 that covered something like a 3-day investigation and dig here. I think you can still see the video on YouTube. And they made an interesting discovery regarding the moat in front of the building. I'll put a map up and some pictures on screen, but they think that originally it was just a large straight ditch full of water in Saxon times, and the curve to make it look more like a moat was fairly recent, possibly even Victorian. Oh, what a lovely old pump and trough just by the road here, planted out, looking quite colourful. Aha, this is the little footpath sign I was looking for at the edge of the village. 1¼ miles to our next destination, Toller Whelme. I've just passed a waymarker sign that tells us we're on a section of the Wessex Ridgeway, which is that 136-mile long-distance path that goes from Marlborough in Wiltshire all the way to Lyme Regis in Dorset. Well, I know it's early on in the walk, but as there's still some blackberries about, we ought to just have a little blackberry stop. Yeah, good boy. Well, our first pit stop of the day to take in a view. We've been walking along the side of a field and just looking over there in the distance. Bit of woodland. Looks like it's a mixture of conifers and deciduous. Everything looking so green though. It's been quite a wet summer. Well, this is an important part of the route. So we've come out of a field, followed a little road for a bit, and we've come now to a little fork, and we take the right hand side. Looks as though it's a dead end, but it's the way to Toller Whelme. Oh, I love these little country tracks. Just from time to time you stop by a gate, you lean over the gate and just take in some of these views and just soak it all in for a minute or two. I'll continue to make my way along this little track, and on the left hand side here, I think through there somewhere, is a nature reserve called Michael's Peace Nature Reserve, all owned by Dorset Wildlife Trust, I think. Sort of covers 4.5 acres, and I think there's a large pond in there, but apparently it's very boggy and quite swampy. I wonder who Michael was. Oh wow, look at this. Isn't this quite exquisite? Now interesting, I don't think it appears on even a 1958 map. So it may well have been created in the 1970s. Beautiful, isn't it? Well, we're just coming into the tiny little settlement of Toller Whelme, and just on the other side of the track there you can see what looks like a pond. I think this could well be the source of the River Hooke. Not 100% sure. If it isn't, then it's very close to here. So we're just coming into Toller Whelme. In the past it was also known as Pinney's Toller or Penny Toller, from the name of the family Pinney or Penny who once owned the manor house here. I did read that the Toller bit possibly is named after the daughter of a Saxon king called Ethelred the Unready, although I couldn't actually see that he actually had a daughter called Toller. But anyway, the Whelme bit is Anglo-Saxon for river source or spring. Oh, isn't this a quite magnificent building? I think this is actually the manor house. It's a tiny hamlet around here, just about 7 homes, and it was mentioned in the Domesday Book when it was owned by the Count of Mortain, a bit like Hooke. It later passed to Ford Abbey, a Cistercian order on the Dorset-Somerset border. It was basically a grange farm for the abbey. And the manor was originally one principal residence of a single farm, which has subsequently been divided into separate properties and holdings. But the manor house here has got 15th century origins, and the oldest wing dates to 1470. The main part of the building dates from around 1645, and it's been restored over the years. And right close to the manor house is the church of St John, which was built in 1870. And it actually belongs to the manor house today. It was built as a chapel of ease by the Pope family that lived here, and it consists of a nave, chancel, porch and tower. And I believe it's got a very unusual set of steel bells, 4 of them. I was reading that well, it's restricted to a maximum of 8 services a year with no minimum. Well, as we sit here in this glorious autumnal sunshine, forgive me if I read a little section from our friend Sir Frederick Treves' 1906 book, Highways and Byways in Dorset. I need my glasses for this. A certain byway leading thither passes another toller called Toller Whelme. This Toller Whelme is not a much frequented place, but the guidebook says that a grange there once belonged to Ford Abbey. Let the traveller go to the spot and see. He will come in time upon a narrow, silent road, grown over with grass, which drops into a deep glen of trees. Here, hidden away in a niche among the hills, will be found Toller Whelme, sleeping its last sleep. There is no village, no hamlet, not even the sign of living men. Toller Whelme is merely a deserted grange tumbling into ruin. A more pathetic, piteous, haunting spot cannot be found in this bright part of England. The house is of grey stone and very old. Its roof is of comely thatch. Its windows have stone mullions and graceful dripstones. There is a little stone porch to the house and an ancient door. The shutters are closed, but here and there a hasp or a hinge has fallen away, so that the sun streams into an empty room and lights up pale patches on a wall where pictures hung, and shows the bare, ghostly mantelpiece of the rusting grate. The place is lonely, desolate, dead. The prince who woke the sleeping beauty might ride down into the glen and blow the loudest blast upon his horn. But beyond the flutter of startled birds in the creepers under the eaves, there would be never a sign of life. There are none to wake. I'm pleased to say the place has been refurbished since he wrote the book, but lovely prose, isn't it? Oh, just leaving Toller Whelme, and I nearly missed this finger post. That is well hidden. Oh, we need to head towards, I think it's the B3163 it looks like on the sign there. Well, we've been making our way uphill. Good spot to look back at the view south. Really is quite spectacular up here. Just interesting, looking ahead I can see an avenue of trees on a track. I wonder where that leads to. I'll have to look it up when I get home. Well, as you can see, we're now in some woods. The next section of the walk takes us through Westcombe Coppice, and I believe it has a very good display of bluebells in the spring. Well, that really was a quite idyllic little bit of woodland that we just walked through. We're now back into the open air, and we're just about to go down a sort of mini valley, and it's got one of those quaint Dorset names. The valley is known as, and I kid you not, Burnt Bottom. I've no idea where it got its name from. I'm not sure if I really want to know. Well, there we go, folks. That's the view. Looking up Burnt Bottom. I've been dying to say that. Well, just as we're coming back into Hooke, we're passing through a meadow, and the footpath goes by these 3 standing stones. I'm afraid I don't know what their story is. They must have one, surely. Well, folks, we're nearly at the end of our walk, just a few more yards further south back to our car in the village. We hope you enjoyed our walk today. If you did, please do give us a thumbs up and a like, and do leave a comment, and do check out our Facebook page, Taves Countryside Walks. We've had a super walk today. The weather's been terrific. No pub today. We can have a little bonio though. So from me and from Logan and from these fascinating stones, until we meet again, thanks for watching, and cheerio. Ah, what a perfect way to end the walk with a nice refreshing dog dip. It was getting quite warm at the end. Is that good?